Welcome to What's Your St. John's Story, a 30-minute segment sponsored by St. John's United, highlighting connectivity within our community through storytelling. I am Rachel Simonson with the St. John's Foundation, and today we're talking about the season of giving. And we're talking with Heather Estus, who is at St. John's Foundation, our Director of Annual Donor Relations and Annual Programs. Yeah. She likes to say it's the longest title at St. John's. Yeah. She's not mistaken in that. And welcome, Heather.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank
Today we're just going to have a conversation between the two of us, and the two of us could also be known as the Giving Geeks.
That's true.
At St. John's, because there are things that about philanthropy and stewardship and giving that get us jazzed and up and ready for the day and motivated. Right. So let me start with you, Heather. Introduce yourself to us again, to our audience, and remind us what you do at St. John's.
Yeah, so my title is probably the longest title, but I like to use friend maker and party planner.
It's easier.
Yes, and really that's what I do, is I make friends for St. John's and then plan events around those friends to help cultivate and steward those relationships. And it really fuels what I call the lifeblood of the organization, which is the annual fund. So it is small to medium and sometimes larger gifts that fuel our operations at St. John's. And it's a necessary, when I say lifeblood, it is a necessary part of the philanthropy of St. John's as well.
Absolutely, and we talk about the three-legged stool of philanthropy at St. John's, and it's no different than any other not-for-profit. Might be a church, or it could be the Boys and Girls Club, could be a college. But you've always got your annual fund, and those are donations that come in and go out the door within the calendar year, and they do fuel operations for an organization. And then there are capital campaigns when places need to refresh their spaces, whether it's a new building or remodeling an existing building. If it's a church, remodeling the existing worship spaces, adding new spaces, that's when we go out for capital campaigns.
That's right.
Short-term, limited campaigns. And then the third leg of the stool is the leg that I focus on, and that's the endowment leg. And that's the long-term permanent funding for the organization into perpetuity, where the donations to those funds go to work, generate income, which is then taken off and given back in the form of annual gifts to the organization itself. So that's our three-legged stool, and today we're going to focus a little bit on two of those legs, both the endowment and the annual fund, probably focusing more on annual fund. But we are in the season of giving. Let's talk a little bit about why the end of the year is the season of giving. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think that is usually where most people's philanthropic story begins, right? We think about the holidays, and it's, kicks off with Thanksgiving and then Christmas, and people just feel a little bit more grateful during that season, which really ignites our reasons to give. And many of us have been blessed during those seasons, and I feel like philanthropy is a feeling, really, and that feeling comes usually at the end of the year during the holiday season. And then, of course, there's benefits to giving before the end of the year, right, for tax purposes. But I think, examples are like our Giving Tuesday event yesterday really kicks off our season of giving. Giving Tuesday is a global event that was started back east by two small organizations. It's kind of like Black Friday, right? And then there's Saturday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, and then Giving Tuesday is the nonprofits version of Black Friday or Cyber Monday. And it also shines light to all the nonprofit causes, not only in Billings, but also in the world. So it's an amazing time to kind of kick off that giving season, create awareness about any new programs that you may have. So ours was the greenhouse yesterday. We are focusing on creating awareness about the greenhouse and sharing with people what that new program will be.
And we're going to talk more about the greenhouse in just a minute, but I want to latch on to the season of giving. When we think in terms of faith-based organizations, it really starts towards the end of harvest season,
Yes,
the
yep.
growing season, because it's scriptural
Yep.
that as stewards we bring
The harvest.
the harvest, the
Yep.
first fruits of the harvest. And in this part of the world, that kicks off in August and September,
Yep.
which then leads us into our American season of giving with Thanksgiving and launching into the Christmas season as well. But let's back up and talk just a little bit about stewardship principles. The idea, the notion of giving back.
Yeah.
Where does that hit you in your heart? Can you think of examples of where you have been inspired
Yes.
to be a good steward?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned, our philanthropic story, all is personal. For me, I remember as a young girl going with my father to give blood. And it wasn't just during the holiday season, but it was year round. And I really didn't understand that until later in life, what he was doing. And then, a few years later, my family was adopted during Christmas season. My mom was a single parent. So all of those little stories built that philanthropic heart in me. And I think everybody has that type of story. Ironically, I ended up working at the Red Cross, which is the largest blood donation center. And I ended up working for Boys and Girls Club, which supports single parents. And now my faith is so important to me, and Billings community is important to me. I'm very grateful to share what I've learned at St. John's. It's just aligned with who I am. And I think that's a big part of our giving story, is that we give to things that we feel passionate about, or that we have experienced gratitude or service from. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, and I'll share my background. I think my first introduction to stewardship wasn't a warm, fuzzy feeling whatsoever. I was sitting with my mother. I think I must have been 10, 11 years old, helping her write out the bills
Yep.
for the week or the month. And she got to writing the check for church. And right before she did that, money was tight for our family. And I looked at what she had left in the checkbook after she had, subtracted everything. I said, "Oh, great. We can go to McDonald's.
Go shopping.
we can, this weekend we can do that." And she said, "No, I have to write the check for church first."
Yeah.
And this was sometime on a Thursday or a Friday or something like that. And I said, "Well,
Yeah.
that did not make me as a child very happy
Yeah.
that money was going to be used, not for us,
Yeah.
but for a better purpose." And I think as I grew into adulthood, that stuck with me.
Yeah.
And realizing that was a commitment to supporting an organization that was deeply held
Yeah.
in my mother's heart.
Yeah.
And so that's how I learned stewardship, that you give back first, and what's left for yourself, then you can spend that.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you were talking about with the first fruits of the harvest,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
I think that sometimes that's challenging for people to get, just like as you as a child. I think even adults, it's sometimes challenging for them to understand. But I've worked with a lot of philanthropists, and one thing that keeps coming back is, "Heather, I can't give it away fast enough."
Yes.
And what they're saying is that by honoring that, giving first, what they receive is bountiful and times 7. And so I think if people could really latch onto that and even just experiment a little, give off the top of your paycheck first before, and see what happens. I mean, I think that's the only thing. I think the only place that God actually challenges us in the Bible is with giving.
Giving first.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so my background as a financial advisor was always give 10, save 10,
That's
live
right.
on the other
Live
80.
on. Yep.
And so that mantra of giving and receiving, when you give, you do receive. And oftentimes it's heartfelt things that you receive.
Yes.
But we know too in our world that as Americans, we have tax benefits for giving as well.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can give money away and receive back in an advantageous form. And that's where we get to be the giving geeks and talk about the excitement of that part of giving.
Absolutely.
But let's pivot back a little bit to opportunities for giving? If somebody
Yeah.
isn't really schooled or comfortable yet in the idea of giving, where do they start trying to find?
Yeah, that's a great question. I often, when I get this question, people, because they are asking about how do I start to learn about an organization, or I often recommend they check to see if they have volunteer opportunities. I think volunteers are probably some of our most loyal givers. And the other thing is maybe they're looking at organization and maybe exploring like doing some type of drive, like for example, like our pantry drive that we're doing, something where they can actually get in action and start to see the organization, maybe work around the people at the organization. In addition to that, though, if it's financial that maybe they want to support, I would say look at what type of opportunities the organization has to give financially, whether they have a reoccurring type of giving club, do they have different types of benefits that they offer for giving, or recognition, things like that. I think people are motivated by all types of different things. And I think as they start to dive into that, they'll find out what that is.
And when it comes to opportunities at St. John's, yesterday was Giving Tuesday, and you were focused on one particular opportunity at St. John's.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, and then some of the other outlets for people's generosity at St. John's.
So we are renovating the greenhouse at the Ganans building. It was gifted to St. John's, which was another gift, a vehicle that Rachel works on, the gift of property, and how that benefited both St. John's and us, and now it will benefit the community. So that greenhouse is going to be used to grow fresh produce aeroponically, and for our residents at St. John's. And the great thing about that program is that we're going to be partnering with the Billings High School students to come and learn about horticulture, aeroponics. So there'll be some job development skills there. And then, of course, an opportunity for them to work alongside the residents at St. John's and create some lasting, memorable, intergenerational memories. I think that's probably one of those things that people will remember the most about what will be happening at the greenhouse. So yesterday was Giving Tuesday. We had a goal of $5,000. It was our first real Giving Tuesday, exploring what that is for St. John's and as an organization. And so we also wanted to share what was going on with the greenhouse. People have been curious on what's happening at Ganans, and so we were able to do that, and successfully the community came through. The partnerships that we began with the businesses, small and big in downtown, flourished from Giving Tuesday as well. They came in and matched all the donations yesterday. So if you gave a gift of $10, it became $20 because of the support of those small businesses and businesses downtown. So it was a successful day for us. I think most importantly is the activity, and people got to see and experience something new, learn something new. And then the benefit, obviously, for St. John's is we doubled our goal for the day. So it was great.
That is so exciting.
Yeah.
It is our first foray into being real and intentional about participating in Giving Tuesday, because it is. It's a global effort, and you really feel like you are part of something bigger than just your own organization or your own community when you participate in that.
Yeah, and it's really the kickoff, like I mentioned earlier, of giving season. You asked about other opportunities to give through the annual fund. Specifically, we have a 1963 society. 1963 was the year that St. John's opened its doors. Our goal is with that society to reach out to our younger generation, our XY generation and millennials, because there is a lot of opportunity for them. It's their parents, it's their grandparents that are going to be receiving the services of St. John's, and so connecting with them is very important for us. It really is a family at St. John's, and we want to connect with them as well. And so the 1963 Society is a monthly giving club that enables them to connect as well with each other, but also with the residents in St. John's. So we'll do special events for them, but they're mostly online, and it's our research shows that giving online is growing and growing, and we saw that yesterday. And it is those groups of people that are doing that. And so that's one way you can become a member of the 1963 Society. Also, there is just, you can make a one-time gift. Our Seeds of Kindness, which we are in the season of that, supports our annual program. And that could be as well a monthly gift or a one-time gift. So there's lots of ways. At the end of this year, we are really seeking support for our pantry.
Tell us a little bit more about the pantry first.
Yeah.
What is it? Where is it? Who does it benefit?
Yeah. So the pantry benefits our residents at Chapel Court. And the residents at Chapel Court are the ones that need a little extra help. And that's why the St. John's Foundation exists, is to support our residents like that who may need some support towards the end of their life that they don't have, or they may have run out of resources, or planning happens, all of the other things that you don't think about, that all of us, could happen to any one of us, happens to our residents, and they need a little extra support. And so the Chapel Court residents have a pantry, and the pantry really is used not only to provide them with some extra comforts, but also to get them active in the activities that are happening at St. John's. So when they participate in activities that include exercise events and social gatherings, they receive like a token, and that token allows them to go shopping at the pantry. And in the pantry are things like hot chocolate, gloves, socks, maybe things that they usually don't purchase for themselves. So crossword puzzles, lots of fun things, and they really, really love it. It's open every Tuesday for them, and there's about, I want to say, 60 residents lined up in the hallway waiting to get in. And it costs St. John's about $400 to supply everything in that pantry. And so we are looking to the community at the end of the season to really either do drives for the pantry. So the wish list for the pantry is on our website, can be downloaded, and then also give financially if they can towards the pantry. So our goal is hopefully we can get enough with the drives and the financial support that in the end of the year that we won't have to do that throughout the year, and that they will have enough. And so that's a great way to get involved. I mentioned earlier, you're asking about how do people get involved with the organization. Drives like this pantry drive is a great way for one, as a family, to take your kids maybe shopping and explain to them what you're doing, and gather those supplies and bring them to St. John's. And that could be the beginning of their philanthropic story. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we actually saw an example of how a family could get involved. Our church, one of our church families, our ownership congregations, is doing an Advent calendar.
Yes, that's amazing.
We are now in the season of Advent. That started on Sunday. And Advent runs the 4 Sundays of the season leading up to Christmas. And if you were back in the day, a member of a congregation that had a little Sunday school program where you'd be given an Advent calendar. And you could open up the little window each day and see what you get or what you're supposed to read or something to that effect. But the congregation is actually on each day focusing on one of the pantry items.
Yes, it's
to collect.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I just got to thinking that would be such a wonderful way for a family
to create a tradition.
Right. And it's little things like socks or, quite frankly, denture soak is one of the things
toothpaste or toothbrushes.
Or a puzzle of some sort.
They like fun things too. And sometimes it's toilet paper, or, they may run out at the end of the month and they need the extra, or, it could be anything, but it is a great way to demonstrate that through the Advent calendar. It was a great idea. And there's lots of things. And school drives, organizations can do drives, businesses. It's a way for people to kind of gather around something and participate and give back. And that's the beginning of a journey, a philanthropic journey.
Absolutely. And we have in the past had many businesses who will do something special for St. John's around the holidays. And this is a great way to get employees energized and motivated about it. It's low stakes, really, for most people to get involved with something like this. It's like having a mitten tree.
Yeah, or like if you have a holiday party, Christmas party, everybody brings one item from the wish list, and it's a great way for them to, like I said, begin that philanthropic
Yeah.
journey.
So it's not just St. John's that has need. There's need all over our
Yeah.
community. And so I guess I would encourage people to, perhaps instead of, the white elephant type things where you're getting rid of junk and just passing along junk to somebody else, maybe look for some meaningful opportunities to make a difference for other people within this community during this season of giving.
Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't take much. I mean, it's cleaning out your closet, right? Or having a yard sale or something like that, and giving the money that you make to an organization. I think you can be very creative on how to give back to your community. And most organizations have ideas like that to share as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in our remaining minutes, Heather, I think I'd like to refocus us back on what really drives us for support of St. John's.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what St. John's means to you. You've been here almost a year.
Yeah.
What has been your experience, and what drives you to support St. John's?
Even yesterday, I felt the love of St. John's, and I have felt that all year. It's a very welcoming, loving, and caring community. Yesterday, I spoke to lots of community members, the ones that have loved ones at St. John's, ones that have worked at St. John's. Every single one of them said they loved St. John's, and I find that to be very true. Working there, experiencing all the different areas and service areas that we do, there's not one person that I found that really doesn't love what they do and their job. And they really, I think for me, being a professional in the nonprofit industry, it was so important for me to work for an organization that was living their mission, that they really truly lived what they believed in. And I feel that that is through and through at St. John's. And so that was really my strong connection to that. And I think at first I'm not sure I really, with an elder community, what that would look like for me, how I could be passionate about that. But one of my first friends in Billings that reached out to me was 74. I think she's 74 years old. And she's one of my closest friends now. And she's like one of the first women that worked at the oil refinery. She's retired now, but that immediately connected me to, wow, these people are really special, and I'm going to have the opportunity to serve them. And that's been my experience so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll just remind people that our mission at St. John's is to provide living opportunities within nurturing environments of hope, dignity, and love.
Yep.
And we actually have a vision that for every age, every day, there is healing, meaning, and purpose. So whether it's the residents that we serve, from independent living all the way through to assisted living and skilled care, to our kids in our daycare, to staff, making sure that there's healing, meaning, and purpose in every day, I think is really one of the special things about St. John's. And I do think that is why, by and large, when you encounter people in our community, they have affection for St. John's. They oftentimes can't put their finger on it.
Yeah.
But those things, the hope, dignity, and love, and healing, meaning, and purpose, really do create this environment.
Yeah, it's a special connection that they feel. And everybody that has come into contact with St. John's feels the same way. It is a very loving environment.
Yeah. And in the Billings community, it's a significant
that's what I found out.
Business
I've only
and
been
member
here
of
a
the
year.
community. And we employ a lot of people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of economic activity that happens on the periphery because of a large employer like St. John's. So it's just a good place to work and live, and we hope that we are good stewards of the Billings community as well.
Yeah, I think St. John's is, it's been here for a long time, but I think it will be here for a much longer time.
Yeah, absolutely. Making a difference in the lives of others right within our campuses and beyond.
Yeah.
All right.
Well said.
Well, Heather, like I do with everybody who's been in your seat, I'd like to thank you for what you do at St. John's. Thank you for the difference that you're making.
Thank you.
If people want to connect with you and some of the opportunities at St. John's, how do they reach you?
Yeah, I think the best way is online, but they can also email me. All of that information is on our donation page on stjohnsunited.org. and then you would go down to the donate online. All my information is on there as well. But you can always just call St. John's and ask for me. I'm happy to share whatever I can to help them connect with St. John's.
Fantastic. And so the big question for you, because the show is called What's Your St. John's Story? With almost a year of service to St. John's, what would you say is your St. John's story at this point?
I think that story is still being written. But I do say that because originally coming to Billings, Montana, I wasn't sure what nonprofit that I was going to be able to serve. And it is a part of not only my St. John story, but my Montana story. And I think the people there and being able to serve in a new way, meet new people, and share gifts and talents. So my St. John story is really my Montana story, and it's the beginning. I've only been here a year, but I don't think I'd be able to make as many friends, right, and do as much good without St. John's there for me. So it is the beginning of a Montana, but also my St. John story.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you again for everything that you do. And thank you for watching again another segment of What's Your St. John's Story. And if you are so inspired to be philanthropic in this season of generosity, I encourage you to look far and wide within our community for opportunities to connect and to give. And thank you so much again for watching, and we'll see you next time.
For generations, St. John's has united us with its uplifting vision and lives it has touched. There are thousands of stories about St. John's. Prayers answered for a long-awaited adoption, pain-free relief after healing from injury, settling into a new home for the next phase of life, the comfort of compassionate end-of-life care, the joy that comes from volunteering, and at-home help that supports the fullest life. At St. John's, we are creating community and bringing families together. We offer many services for home, health, and family, from childcare, support for an unplanned pregnancy, and physical therapy, to home health care, senior living services, and hospice care. For all times of life, we are here for you. The heartwarming stories of St. John's are woven into the fabric of our community. What's your St. John's story?